I would like to welcome everyone to the Monday, February 14th meeting of the Pine Bluffs Town Council. Everyone, please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Moving on to the agenda approval.
Move to approve the agenda as presented.
Second.
How do I do this now? I actually would like to move the building permit for 205 Chestnut out of the consent agenda into just a separate line item. So I move to remove 3A, the building permit for 205 Chestnut, into a separate line item.
I don't think you caught it in time, so I'm going to ask Alex. It was moved and seconded to approve it. Do we need to vote on it first?
That's the chair's choice.
Thing is, we're talking about just the agenda, not the consent agenda.
Correct. Mayor, through you to Councilman. I think I would interpret Councilwoman's action
There we go.
I move to amend the agenda. So 205 Chestnut building permit is a standalone item.
Second.
Moved and seconded, we amend the agenda to move the 205 Chestnut building permit to a separate agenda item. All in favor?
Aye.
So now we need a motion to approve the agenda.
I think you have that. You just need to vote on it.
Okay. Now it's been moved and seconded. We approve the agenda. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay. We probably could have done it within there, but consent agenda. Our first item up.
I move to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. So I think we're taking the approval of the building permit or review of the building permit for 205 Chestnut as the next item of business. I guess I'll just explain where I think we're at is the ownership of the property and the building permit are not under the same party. So, I mean, there are several things we could do. We have kind of a purchase agreement for the property, but I had it set out in my mind earlier, but I think we could do something like just have the owner of the property added to the building permit to satisfy a more clear record of the building permit, just as an additional line item on the building permit.
Yeah.
So
I
what I think we could do, if you're in favor of the permit in general, is just approve it conditionally upon us getting the other name added.
Yeah, I think that makes that cleaner.
Yeah, that's fine.
Any questions about that, Tom?
No.
All right.
Okay, I move to approve the consent agenda, or not the consent agenda, I'm stuck on that today. I move to approve the building permit for 205 Chestnut under the conditions that we have the, property owner added to the building permit.
Second.
Moved and seconded to approve the building permit for 205 Chestnut under the condition that the property owner's name is added to the permit. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. The next item on new business is the water rate study review and recommendation. Kim?
Mayor and council, as you may remember at the last meeting, Chris Lidstone, our water engineer, came to the board with some recommendations for a water rate increase. Currently, our water rates have been in place since 2014. In 2014, they raised by $3.50 for the base rate across the board. This is a significant amount of time that has passed since that increase, and we don't take increases to any of our utilities lightly. When we look at the overall costs of maintaining our water infrastructure, as well as our ability to repay debt and put money aside for any capital improvements, we have realized that we are falling short of some of our requirements. Specifically, one of the requirements is for us to put at least 10% of our income into reserves for our water department. Over the course of the last 3 years, our water reserves have been significantly depleted by major catastrophic events that have happened to our infrastructure, all starting with a major water main break. Shortly after that, we had significant issues with wells number 5 and 9. And then on top of that, we had significant issues with our SCADA system, which is our telemetry for all of our wells, booster station, tanks, et cetera. That has depleted our reserves by more than 60%. So much so that we went to the State Loan and Investment Board for an emergency MRG grant to help cover the costs of the events that have recently happened at well number 7. Well number 7 provides 20% of the overall drinking water for the town, so that's a significant amount that needed to be repaired. Fortunately, it's in an off-season for water, so we had the time to apply for that grant, and we were approved at the meeting last week. So there were several different several different ideas that were kind of presented to you all in writing, but my recommendation is to have a 27% increase overall. That 27% increase in just the base rate would equate to a $7.50 increase for residential 3/4 inch tap, which is the majority of the taps that we have here in the community. And that would kind of follow through with that 27% to all the different size taps and commercial rates and all that. But to help offset that to our customer base, I am recommending that we divide that increase, 50% to happen this year. Specifically on September 1st, it would go into effect so that over the summer months, people wouldn't experience any, anything negative to keeping their yards watered and all that. So for residents, we would be looking at a $3.75 increase effective September 1st of 2022, and then the other 50% would be effective September 1st of 2024. The other option is we could do a 60-40 split, but I'm leaning more towards the 50-50 split because we do still have our third tranche of the electric rate increase that will be happening on April 1st, and that's about $4 per month per customer for residential and $10 per month per customer for commercial. So again, my recommendation is the 27% increase to the base rate only. This does not affect any of the consumption rates. And my other recommendation is to divide that 50-50, half to go in effect September 1st of this year, half to go into effect September 1st of 2024. I think that, some folks may say, well, 27%, that sounds like an awful lot. I think that if you look at the water rate comparison that we put together for you from some other municipalities, some are similar in size to us. The city of Cheyenne is obviously much larger than us, but they are, the closest to us as far as a Wyoming municipality within our own county. And you'll see that the rates are significantly, Pine Bluffs is pretty much at the low end of the spectrum. In fact, we are the lowest. In fact, we are one of the lowest within the entire state of Wyoming for water rates.
We should have asked this before. Do we have you used the 5,000 comparison. Does that, I guess I can gather it from the consumption part of the revenue, which is much smaller. Most people are staying under 12.
I think most people for the majority of the year are under 12,000. The reason why we put that 5,000 gallon water rate comparison in there was to also kind of illustrate the fact that, one of the considerations we made was, well, what if we have a lot of folks that maybe live by themselves and, maybe don't use much water, and so maybe they are well below that 12,000 gallons, pretty much maybe 10 months out of the year. Well, even at the 5,000 gallon rate, we are still below rates for other municipalities, similar in size, as well as, similar to Cheyenne.
Where did I get that? Okay.
One of the other considerations we thought about was dropping our 12,000 gallons to maybe 9,000 gallons. And, that really doesn't make a difference. Throughout the community, I think Councilman Ragsdale pointed out in the last meeting that you have people that either use a lot of water outside of their home, like for watering their lawns or swimming pools or whatever, or you have those that don't. I don't think our consumption is kind of a player in this. And that's why we always try to make any kind of a rate change to our base rate, because generally your base rate is your guaranteed rate that will be there to help offset costs for infrastructure improvements or repairs.
You guys have any questions?
What about
Thoughts?
the alternate one on your deal for the rate at the 575?
Okay, so alternate one was another one that we had looked at, and that would be just a one-time, well, not a one-time, but an increase of $5.75 as opposed to $7.50. Because we're trying to get our utilities each on a 4-year rotation for evaluating the rates, as opposed to coming with a, hey, surprise, after 9 years, we're looking at them and now you're gonna have a 27% increase. We would like it to we'd like to get our utilities to the point where every 4th year, we're looking at a different utility. This year it's water, next year it'll be sewer, the year after that electric, and then after that trash. So we would like it to be to the point where 4 years from now, we're not in a position where we have to do maybe another increase that might be a little bit uncomfortable.
But
So-
on the alternate two, you're going for a 2-year increase, right? 1 year, then the following year.
No, it's one increase, it's just divided in half.
For 2 years,
Yeah,
right?
but she,
So then you got 2 years, you're gonna try to increase it again? if
Well, we
have to
we
lower-
may not, because we would be looking at a little bit
Yeah, I
higher of a
got the figures.
percentage this
I'm
time.
looking at them.
You're just splitting it.
Yeah, I know you're splitting it, but what I'm talking about is, she says for every 4 years, we're gonna go back and look at it. Well, if we go with the 750, that's 2 years shot already. Then we only got 2 years to look at it to increase it. So you're gonna increase it 2 years in a row,
no, we're
Yeah?
gonna increase it every other year. I think that.
We're
her
increasing it
proposal
once,
is
we're just dividing that increase over,
over 2 years.
yes,
Over 3, actually, because
right, yeah.
it'll be September of '22 and September of '24.
Oh, you're not gonna do 23 then?
No.
Skip
Oh, okay,
23.
Yeah.
all right, that's
Yeah.
a little different.
And one of the things I would say when I look at it is, I think if we looked at what we're doing today, if everything was static, I would be really in favor for alternative one. But it seems to me like the problem is while it's above what we think our operating costs are, it's not going to be that way for long, given the inflationary society we're living in. It's going to, we're never gonna make it 4 years at that rate
No,
and stay above water, I don't think. Not to pun, but.
No pun.
But,
Yes.
that would be why I would probably choose the more aggressive rate structure over 4 years, but, I mean, I'm happy to look at either. And I think the other ones you included too were 3, 4, 5, a lot of these had to do with, moving our base rate down, which did
Right.
not, which generated about $8,000 a year, it appears.
Right,
If we moved it to the state average of 9,000, or what we thought was a pretty statewide average.
yes. Just to kind of throw out there for the folks that may be listening, our base rate goes up to 12,000 gallons. Let's say you're using 15,000 gallons. Your residential water your residential water bill in Pine Bluffs would be $32. If you lived in Cheyenne, your water bill would be $85.84. If you lived in Kimball, it would be $42.75. I would also like to point out that we are keeping our per 1,000 gallon rate the same, and we're keeping them at the different levels. So for instance, anything over 12,000 gallons, from 12,000 to 16,000 gallons would be $1.50 per 1,000 gallons. In the city of Cheyenne, it would be $4.64 per 1,000 gallons, up to 6,000, and then it jumps to $5.73 per 1,000 gallons. And again, I understand that Cheyenne is a lot larger than us. They're a very big municipality. However, they are pretty much our sister city, so to speak. And when you look at the cost of us getting a job done here in Pine Bluffs, the cost of getting that job done is very similar to rates that you would pay to get work done in Cheyenne. If you're calling in a contractor, or you're looking at telemetry, or you're looking at having, somebody come out for a well. I would say the only thing that's probably a lot less than Cheyenne for our overall expenses is probably our wages.
Kim, did you check with Burns and Albin on water rates?
We couldn't get a hold of anybody in Albin, and I don't know if they talked to anybody in Burns about their rates. the engineers conducted the study. We looked at, well, in your packet, you'll see we looked at some other towns. We looked at Guernsey, had their rates readily available, Kimball, Pierce, Alpine. Trying to look at, municipalities with a similar size. So that's something else to take into consideration is, Burns and Alvin are a whole lot smaller.
Can I ask a question? Time for visitor comments, but I understand, that what I'm thinking, what you're talking about and everything sounds fine to me. I mean, you gotta cover your expenses and you're running a town similar to what we run a business, but older people like me, by myself, I don't see that I ever use 12,000 gallons of water. I wash clothes once a week. I wash dishes maybe a couple of times a week. And it just seems to me like there should be a factor maybe thought of about single household people versus 4 or 5 people in the household and the difference that they use between electricity, water, and everything else. It gets a little bit harder. You're talking about a base rate of 12,000 gallons. It might take me 2 months to use that much water. So I just wondered if that would be something you can take into consideration too, maybe.
Well, I
I
would say,
realize you got a hard job to do, and I don't want your job.
but I would say we have things in front of us based on moving the base rate, moving the gallons per base rate down. And if, you're still gonna struggle to make it to what we thought the statewide average of 9,000 gallons, which is, unless we went to a system more like Cheyenne's where we charge you for the first gallon you use. Basically, the first 1,000 gallons, you get no free gallons, which I understand that makes up their base rate, but,
I wouldn't have any idea. I'm just thinking that sounds like a lot of water. I guess I could put a meter on my line and see what I use. It might shock me.
well, we tell you what you use every month when you get your bill.
Yeah. Actually, I think I seen
Technically.
one last summer where I was up to 14,000.
Yeah, so,
There ain't no way. But water in the yard, you use a lot of water.
I think something to take into consideration, Mr. Sanders, is that the base rate isn't, you're not just paying for that water, it's basically for us to maintain the infrastructure.
Yeah.
So to
I
maintain
know.
the infrastructure, it's based on the size of the tap, so a 3/4 inch tap, which is the majority of our residential, I would say.
Yeah.
And I think that that's where we really look at our base rate. So in effect, the base rate for maintaining the water service to the community is actually just enhanced by the fact that that includes 12,000 gallons. And unfortunately, it would be very difficult for us to determine household size, so we have to do it on tap size.
Yeah, I can understand that. It's a hard job. But yeah,
do you have any thoughts?
I like the option 2. Use the base rate where it's at, spread it out over the 2 years with a raise in 22 and then the other one in 24.
I like option 1 myself.
And again, we'll have to put this in the form of a resolution. It's just that I wanted you all to have something think about and decide on before I put that resolution into play, since we have a little bit of time before the rate change would actually take effect.
Yeah. You know, like, I understand the cost, the kind of, fairly large increase in rates, but I also consider that, 2014 was quite some time ago, and perhaps there should have been an interim thing, maybe not. Like, I'm not looking back, I just know where we're at, what our expenditures are. That's kind of where I'm at, is, it's no fun for anyone, but it's, I guess I would also vote for. Which one did you say, Tom?
I'd like one, and
Like
Like, of
the
these ones?
alternative one or the recommendation one?
alternative one.
The 21% versus the
Oh, okay.
27%.
I just wanted to be
Yeah, the
clear.
575.
Ally?
Yeah, I'm good with the recommendation, of alternative to the recommendation 1 of splitting that out 50-50 over 2 different cycles.
Well, yeah, I think that would be my choice, is to do the same, so. We don't need to make a motion on anything. It's just
No, I'll
we need to-
prepare the resolution for the next meeting.
Okay,
Thank you.
thanks, Kim. Visitor comments?
Well, I got a question.
Okay,
Back last summer, I was having some problems with dogs in my neighbors next door. They got, what they basically have going on there is they're breeding dogs, raising dogs, breeding them, selling them. One time I counted like 15 dogs in the backyard. It's between the house next to me and then the next house over where Leland Rear used to live. I think their name's Pearson, if I pronounce that right. The guy in the corner anyway, he's the maintenance man over at school. Well, they got one, what they have is they have a wood fence between the house and the garage. And they got a porch that goes up to the back door. Well, that one German Shepherd, they got 2 German Shepherds. You got one that can stand up there on his hind feet and he actually jumps over the top of that, comes out on attack mode and comes over after me and my dog. We've had that happen.
so have you called the police when this happens?
Well, I've had the police up there and they went over and talked to him and I've talked to him. But Chief Chance told me, he says, well, we gotta be a little careful how we do things so we don't get sued. I don't know where that's coming from. Basically, he told me, he said, well, we need stronger ordinances. So I got ahold of Jana, and she was gonna look into it. And she told me, she talked to Kim, and they talked about working on some ordinances and they were gonna put together, maybe have a committee to do it, and have it in place by the end of the year. So I come
Well, I
down
can't-
here
I
to
can't
town
tell-
hall in January and asked if I could get a copy of them. There ain't none. So I
Well, we
wondered
certainly
what
have
happened to it.
Yes,
ordinances.
we do.
It's not as if we don't have ordinances.
Well, I know
So-
you've got ordinances, but there was, Cam, I was just wondering, did Janet talk to you about doing a bunch of new ordinances and
So-
stuff?
We are. We're actually in the process of reviewing our animal ordinance and making updates to it. We're also in the middle of an audit, so it's being looked at little bits at a time, and we hope to have something in front of, we had hoped to have something in front of the council for this meeting, but it looks like it's probably going to be closer to the April meeting before we actually have an ordinance update, by the time we make recommended changes and it goes through our legal review and all that.
It's a lot different than being the end of the year, but I'm willing to go with whatever you can get, but the thing is, I doubt that they ever asked anybody before they ever started this breeding operation.
Well, is that, just to be clear, this was part of your conversation, was specifically about breeding
Yeah,
or about dogs
they breed
getting
dogs,
loose?
they raise dogs, they sell dogs. They've got their own pet dogs. It's just a
Okay.
mess.
Well,
They should not be anything like, and they should ask permission before they ever start anything like that. And it shouldn't even be going on in the middle of town anyway.
well, as Kim stated, we're currently working on those and we will get them done when time allows for that to happen, so.
Well, you think maybe sometime in April you'll have something to,
That's what
Put
we're gonna
out.
work towards. Anyone else? Harry?
Being a seasoned citizen who likes to recycle, I've been approached by older people, seasoned like myself, who said until the town would be willing to open the drive-in gate down at the recycle center, maybe once a month or once a week or twice a month, whatever, they cannot participate in the recycle program because it's too much for them to carry recycle stuff in to put in those bins. And now it's like a skating rink down there. So I was just wondering, is there any way that maybe one day a month or so, the gates could be opened up so people could drive in and just get out and dump their stuff in the recycle bins? Because it's difficult for people who can't do a lot of walking and carry a lot of heavy stuff.
I don't know what anyone else thinks, but this has been a concern of mine, is about how, if we're making it easy enough for people and combining that with the security of not having I think that was the initial concern, I'm sure, is not having it be a free-for-all, but I think we could certainly look at trying to accommodate something like that, or I'm sure even more than once a month. I mean, I'm sure it could be on a more regular basis, but as far as I remember, somebody could.
So
Could-
the
is
initial
the only
reason why,
gate on-
yeah, so the only drive-in gate is in the inside parking lot area. So kind of the history of the recycle center is that, the concrete pad that it sits on used to be that old east shop. And so we just utilized that concrete pad, and so that's where the placement came in. We do still need to put some kind of a sidewalk that goes into it from Walnut. And it was brought to our attention that we get a lot of ice over there, so yes, we made Public Works aware that they need to still take care of that. The concern with not having the drive-in gate open that is in the Public Works yard is that we've had lots of folks go into the Public Works yard and either dump stuff or go fishing through our scrap metal bin or things like that, and we were concerned they would get hurt. However, I think that it is reasonable to say that maybe once a week, like every Friday, we could possibly just have that open for people to go in and drive in and do it on at least once a week basis.
So what about the alternative, which is, I mean, I wasn't part of this when that was built, but what about the potential for a customer-facing gate on whatever street that is,
On Walnut?
on Walnut?
We can absolutely do that. That would be a little bit more of an expense, and I think when we
sure.
first came up with the recycle center, it was to kind of see how it went. And since it seems to be pretty popular, we can definitely go through that. We would have to cut the curb, because there's a curb there.
There should,
There
there was a
isn't-
driveway there
Was
already.
there a driveway? Okay,
So
so we
if
can
we-
probably just put a double gate there to go into that and,
I'm wondering if we look at that as an option and have
Sure.
a part of our, our daily routine or at least weekdays, our daily routine where we open it. Maybe even look at some type of, anyway, to make it the least
sure,
problematic, cheapest cost option, but something that's, I don't know, maybe if we just get some proposals from somebody or a
Right.
proposal, I'm sure you
Yep,
get
we can
more, but-
definitely do that, and in the springtime, look at putting a double gate on there, and in the meantime, we'll try to make sure it's open from 7 to 4 on Fridays,
Okay,
so that folks could drive in from the parking lot area, the public workshop area.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
any other thoughts about that?
I think it's
Fine
great.
with it. If you have to keep it open later, maybe the PD can close the gate up at night.
Well, I think,
Sure, yeah.
If you have to keep it open later.
A lot of people would probably only use it during the day anyway, daylight hours.
the other problem sounds like whoever poured the concrete for that shop did too good a job, huh? It's too level,
Yeah, yeah.
has no slope on it. Anyone else?
I have a question in regards to the recycling center. If people have access to go through your bins, does that set you up for some kind of a liability? Is there any way the bin could be moved?
So the bins that I'm talking about, like the metal recycling bin, is just, it's in our Public Works yard. And it's in back of our Public Works shop, and that area is not gated in off of Butler Avenue right now. There are future plans to put a gate up, but that would probably be down the road a little bit.
I was just curious
Yeah.
as to.
It is,
if
it's a
somebody gets in
liability
there, That would be
concern.
a liability.
Yeah,
for you guys.
absolutely. We wouldn't want anybody to get hurt in there, and, we have like old power poles and, that we are cutting up for recycle, and we have other items back there that we wouldn't want folks to get hurt on.
Mayor, just to clarify, once something's deposited in the trash, it belongs to us. So if someone's dumpster diving and gets hurt, they can come after us right after we get done prosecuting them for theft.
Okay,
So I would say the liability issue is non-existent on that.
okay, that's great to know.
Yeah.
It's a big problem at the landfill.
I can
Yep.
imagine.
And that's why,
And you've got good stuff over there.
that's exactly right. And that's why it says right on the door, no scavenging. We can salvage it, but Joe Blow off the street can't scavenge it.
Exactly.
Got it, okay.
Good. Department reports, Bubba?
I have nothing.
I have nothing from mine other than, we got a check here from Visit Cheyenne for $1,500 for marketing expenditures, so,
We act as a pass-through. That 1,500 gets turned over from us directly to the Trail Days Committee. We simply act as the pass-through for that
so
check.
that's our, we have a firm expenditure. Like, it's already, I was hoping to do some great things. but Sounds like Ally will get to do some great things.
Gally will get to do this.
Dima handles all of that. I always thought she was applying for it, so I learned something today.
Well, we appreciate
Yeah,
that either
That's
way, however it comes to us and goes,
yeah, thank you.
something. Ally?
Nothing new other than, we do have our first Trail Days Committee meeting of the year will be on Thursday at 6, if anybody in the room or anybody listening would like to join us. So, that's all I have.
You get anybody for the parade?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, do you wanna do it?
No, my wife did it for 20-some years. I don't need it.
I
No,
know.
I thought you were
Where's the
talking,
meeting at? Sorry. I mean,
What's that?
Where's
Oh,
their
we're meeting at the town hall,
Okay,
in the upstairs municipal room.
didn't mean to interrupt.
I thought Tom was asking if he found somebody to drive the pickup, cause he drove us last year.
Good.
Pretty sketchy.
It was scary.
That was scary, yeah. Don't ask me again then, I'm refusing. I mean, that 5 miles an hour down Main Street kinda scary. No, I just heard that Don Randall quit the Trail Bill and they're looking for a parade guy to.
We are looking for a parade chairman.
Yeah,
Looking for all kinds of people,
yeah.
all kinds of volunteers probably.
We are.
Anything else, Tom?
No, sir, I have nothing else.
Alex?
Now, we're pretty caught up.
That's one more question, just out
Um,
of curiosity. What is,
briefly,
what is remodeling in the old police building? What's going in there? Nobody seems to know.
that's a good question. We have we're basically just cleaning it up, kinda trying to tidy it up and make sure there's a lot of rough spots to that building, so we're just trying to kind of firm it up and, you know, if we get to a spot where we're prepared to do something with it, we'll
Yeah.
decide what we're going to do, but there's a lot of, it started as a project where we had to clean it up, so.
Yes. It needed to be cleaned out, and we first did all the demo and opened it up and realized that there was a lot of potential for the space. Initial use of a portion of that space in the back that can be closed off as a separate room will be, there is a new nonprofit in town. It will be a food pantry that will be professionally operated. And we can thank Alicia Michaud for making that happen for our community. And then the rest of the space is kind of open right now. We will have it available for meeting space initially, but we will be looking for renters that might want to have some kind of a business in there.
That'd be good. I was just curious.
I know that there were, a lot of citizens came to us concerned that we wouldn't be selling it to be turned into more apartments downtown, and I can assure you that the plan is for the town to keep the building and rent the space to a business that would like to operate on Main Street.
Yeah. I remember
Jackie?
there used to be a library in there.
We have, I'm still working on the budget billing to get to you guys for April, and we've been doing the data requests for the community master plan, which we're in the middle of, so we've been working to get all that information shared with Logan Simpson. So it's been busy.
Great. Kim?
We are finalizing our FY21 audit right now. We have several ordinances that are under review in addition to the animal ordinance. So we have the water ordinance that is being reviewed. I think it's under legal review right now. And we'll also be updating the sewer ordinance. These are not for rates. These are just for, strictly to talk about the infrastructure and building and adding on to it and things of that nature. I would also like to let everybody know that we were successful in getting our emergency mineral royalty grant to cover the costs associated with well 7 repairs. We requested about a 67% split with the town, so we were awarded a grant to about $27,000 to cover those costs. That's about it. We've just got, a lot going on. We're getting geared up to start our annual budget process. So this, passing this resolution for the water rates will be a big help in getting us set up for the water department budget.
Are they drilling the new well now?
They are.
Yeah, they were down there. I saw 'em. A lot of equipment down there.
You can mobilize a lot of equipment for
Yeah.
that price. Do we have an expected completion of the well date?
I do not.
It's not a big deal. I just was curious how long it took them to drill a deep well. I've never paid attention, so.
I take that back. We do, I just don't remember what it is off the top of my head, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm sure. Anything else from anyone? Announcements, meetings, dates?
So we have our community master plan second meeting at 10:30 for our panelists. Our next meeting for the council will be the 14th of March, I believe. I think that's the second Monday, so 1 month from today at 7 p.m. And then I guess you all need to make a decision if there's a special meeting for March or what your thoughts are on that.
Any thoughts about that?
You know, I was talking to Kim, and I think maybe we should think about going back to 2 meetings a month, because it just seems like the next meeting's the 14th, that's a month away already. And if we have a special meeting, it's gotta be between now and the 14th of March,
We were doing it every other month.
every
so
other
it's-
month.
So it's the end of March. I mean,
Yeah, I don't care
look,
which way, but.
I'm happy to kind of defer to what you guys think in terms of the amount of business we're handling or.
Well, it's more or less up to what, are we getting behind? In
Yeah.
getting stuff.
You know, I don't think we're behind. I think that as we get into the busier months, that 2 meetings per month is helpful, especially where we have a lot coming our way as far as the Sixth Penny and potential development and larger projects, especially our partnership with YDOT and the UP Railroad. So while it might not be necessary for the month of March, I think that moving into the spring and summer months, having 2 meetings per month might be helpful.
So what did you previously do?
We used to do the first and third Monday of the month at 7 p.m. However, you know, from an administrative standpoint, I don't know if the citizens would feel the same way. But when we have our second meeting of the month and we hold it at 4? 4 o'clock, you know, that's sometimes helpful to us, because then we can get, you know, more staff members here easier.
I also think it provides a different time frame for people who have maybe not particular issues with what we have on the agenda that night, but if they happen to be people who maybe work at night or have other conflicts, or it's just more convenient if they have something they would like to discuss or get it on the agenda, they have the option of 2 different times, but so.
Just something to note that if we continue with a 4 o'clock second meeting, then I would imagine that probably 99% of the time our legal advisor would be zooming in. Not to be confused with driving really fast down the freeway.
He's never done that.
He never got caught.
So I think there's 2 things at play there. I don't know. I'm just trying to make it great for everyone, like.
Sure.
Different day is also nice, depending on people's schedule. Now they've got, instead of Mondays all the time, they've got, I mean, there's a lot of factors in that, but once again, I'm super happy to do any day but Thursday. Well, I mean, I could. It's not like they're gonna miss me at the golf course or something. But.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's kind of nice to provide another time option. I also like that it's not on a Monday, for that second one. Just because I think, like, especially for you guys, that's a lot to get out on Friday and then start the big project and all of these line items, but that's a whole different, I think that's a whole different deal now.
So what if we went back to 2 meetings in April?
That's fine with me.
That works
And
for
whatever
me.
day you want, whatever time, I don't care about that.
Yeah, I can do whatever.
We can have one at night and one in
Yes,
the afternoon.
Alex.
We need to do an ordinance, don't we?
Give some thought to is, rather than an actual active meeting where things are approved, could go to a committee of the whole kind of concept. That way, actually, I don't even have to be at a committee of the whole meeting, by law, whereas here I do. Cheyenne does that.
I think that's what we were kind of trying to do
School board
before.
does that. And what it does is it provides a means of kind of greasing the slipway, if you want to think of it. You know, you get all the kind of the heavy lifting out of the way, and so when you get to the regular meeting, you wouldn't expect you to receive as much public comment. You typically, public comment is more acceptable in the committee setting, so you could, encourage that. And, change
We just can't have actual decision points.
Right, you don't do that, but what you get instead are recommendations, so you kind of know what's gonna happen, and the consent agenda gets a little longer, and, I think what's burdensome in a meeting, in a normal meeting, is you want to have some avenue for the public comment, but public comment takes up a fair amount of time. And off-topic things that just sort of bubble up, and committee of the whole is a good way to deal with that. I think the school board does the same thing. And that's really what it's for, is trying to shed some of that time-consuming stuff that really doesn't need to be in a meeting.
Does that meet the open meetings law?
Absolutely.
Okay.
So would you suggest we have that first? So that's
Yeah.
our first meeting of the month, and then our second one is
Typically,
this.
that is correct.
So how much working around, if we have normally scheduled meetings, how much working around do we need to do for the, to change meeting dates and times? And, I know our kind of interim meetings we've been doing occasionally, which I really viewed much like that, but we've turned it, there's always some stray beverage permit or something that we've worked through, but we would have to skip those on that, I assume, but.
Well, there's a couple things you can do there. Usually the CAL meetings that I've been part of happen on a different day from the regular council or whatever. Cheyenne, I think, has CAL meetings on Wednesday. Typically they're earlier, they might be 3 or 3:30, something like that. But all you need to do if something urgent comes up is just notice up a special meeting to deal with that. Pick a time. If the CAL meeting, is at 3:30, you can do your special meeting at 3:30. Get it out of the way, and then go into your committee. So you got everybody there. So if something needs to happen, you just have to.
Because one of the things I can think of is, periodically depending on when the Monday meeting falls in the month, either periodically an invoice gets off cycle, or I miss one or two here or there, and so then it would end up being late. And so sometimes having these special meetings are nice because I can, Jackie, don't let me do that anymore.
So I know this, this always feels much more cumbersome than it
Yeah.
seems like it should be, but it's cumbersome and that's all. I mean, trying to find the dates and times. Would your, would our thought process then be to, on the first Tuesday or Wednesday, have that meeting? But if we waited till the third week to have our actual meeting to approve bills, is that getting too late in the month? I mean, sometimes that would be the
Right.
20th or
Sure.
21st.
I don't think it's too late. I think what would happen is at our first committee of the whole meeting would have to do a special meeting before it so that I could get everything into its new cycle that would be
Oh, the
potentially
first
put
one,
off
just
cycle.
to-
Yeah,
To get it cycled correctly.
Yes.
And then we should be all right.
yes.
So can I be selfish and be a school mom here? Wednesdays, there's never any activities, so Wednesdays at 4 would be awesome because we wouldn't have basketball or track. That's just me, but there's nothing
That's certainly
usually.
fine with me.
Works for me.
As long as it's not the third Wednesday, because we got the landfill meeting.
Oh,
So why don't we tentatively, we can discuss it at next month's meeting. Tentatively, I would say then, the first Wednesday of the month. Having the committee as a whole, I don't know if they call it something else. I thought Cheyenne called it an actual work
I
session
think
or
they,
something.
I thought
but
they
it's-
did too,
It's
but.
committee of the whole, we have finance committee, public service committee, and committee of the whole.
starting April, you said?
Yeah, so like April 6th,
Okay.
tentatively.
And then you're gonna shoot for the,
So then what would you like to do for the regular scheduled meeting? Anyone have any, you like Mondays, don't like Mondays?
I'm happy
Doesn't matter
with
to me.
Mondays.
For me.
So then we would move that to the third Monday, which would be April 18th.
Do I need to run that through an ordinance?
I'll have to check.
I think the last one
Think so,
was,
yes.
so.
I think the meeting time and just frequency and everything is part of the code.
So we wouldn't be able to actually
April 6th
put it
is
in
our,
effect right away? or-
The third.
We'd have to hear it 3 times.
Well, I mean, we can always notice up a special meeting,
Right,
so,
to do a
I mean,
reading,
yeah, it could still be fluid.
Okay,
I think it'd be a problem.
Well, the alternative is it wouldn't occur in the same month. I mean, we can pick the third Wednesday to have a committee of the whole meeting and not move the actual meeting, but you're gonna roll over the month. So, I don't know if that's an impactful
18th.
to,
The third, if we do a third Wednesday,
yeah, we can't do that.
we can't do that. I mean, good.
right, yeah.
Ours starts at 7.
Oh, why don't we do the fourth Wednesday? Cause that's, we do the second Tuesday now, or second Monday. So if we did the fourth Wednesday,
fourth Wednesday.
Possible to
27.
not have a
Mm-hmm,
Oh,
mm-hmm,
that's
only
true.
for February.
mm-hmm.
and that probably only occurs like,
Every 78 years.
well, it doesn't occur in 23. And, you know, for the odd chance that happens, we can probably reschedule or something.
Okay, so clarification, fourth
that-
Wednesday, second Monday.
So then we wouldn't have to change anything, right?
Right,
Fourth
Do we
Wednesday.
have to have an ordinance to add because it's not
No,
the Cal
because
meeting?
the regular meeting is,
Second
yeah, the Cal meeting is.
Monday.
And I think the way to extract the most value from that is to encourage that public comment at the committee and then remove it from the agenda here at the regular meeting. Unless it's something like a public hearing for
Right.
liquor licenses or
Sure.
something where you have to have public meetings.
Yeah, budget.
But for the most part, governing bodies do not have to have public comment at the meeting. And that's just something, it's a matter of taste.
So-
how you want to do it.
Yeah. So would you like to get it kick-started in March to get out ahead of it, or actually start it in April? What does everyone think?
March.
March? So March 23rd? So, right?
Yeah,
That's the fourth Wednesday.
actually, the 30th is that one. 1, 2, 3, yeah, 23rd.
Calendar.
Sorry, I was looking at it
It's
this
the
way.
23rd.
And are those gonna be earlier,
Yes, 4 o'clock.
4 o'clock?
March, which one now?
March 23rd at 4 PM.
That's the 4 o'clock meeting.
Yes.
Yes,
And the 14th is still the same regular meeting.
Yes.
yes. So by the anomalies of the calendar, right out of the gate, we have these two meetings that are 8 days apart.
So to clarify, Alex, will we be able to, chew on ideas for ordinances at those meetings?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
And we can make recommendations for people to go out and gather data and all of those things. We just can't.
No
do that.
action.
Cool.
Okay, so, 4th, I'm gonna write that down, 4th Wednesdays at 4. Starting on the
Most of those,
23rd.
I probably will jump on
Sure.
anyway, just to make sure there's questions.
Great.
Awesome.
Anything else?
Nope.
No.
I have
I'm good.
nothing.
I move to adjourn.
No. Second.
Yes, oh.
Moved and seconded, we adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
Um,